When we met these stakeholders, we're asking them, for the last 10 years, you wake up, you go to the office. What do you do? When you go back home, why do you have a reason to wake up the following day? And the President Commission was sharing with us the disappointments they have had every time they've come up with a program for privatization that has never seen the light of day. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, all the way to all those number of years. The establishment of this bill, Honorable Speaker, safeguards, it's important to mention, even though it repeals the current Privatization Act, it safeguards the jobs of those already working at the Commission and provides for a transition process, how they're going to transition from the Privatization Commission to the Privatization Authority as enshrined on the bill. Madam Speaker, the Privatization Bill, most importantly, would have a potential to render the High Court ruling, the position on Petition Gazette Notice number 8739 of 14th August 2009 redundant, because the issues that were raised in that court ruling as per the Privatization Act have now been addressed by this Privatization Bill. I would like to thank the Leader of Majority, because this is a government-sponsored bill, for making sure that this becomes timely, that we bring a sobriety, we bring efficiency, we bring competence in the privatization of our state-owned institutions. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, government is a terrible businessman across the world. And no government should do business that can be done by the private sector. So that is what is going to be addressed in this bill, and we hope that moving forward, the government of Kenya will only engage in those provision of those services that cannot be adequately provided by the private sector. For example, defending our boundaries, providing security, providing healthcare, providing education, but all those other services that can be competently and efficiently be done by the private sector actually get to be done by the private sector. Because studies across the world has shown that the best way to ensure efficiency is by making sure that state-owned companies are privatized and governments stick to their core business and leave the rest to the private sector. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
I therefore propose the question that the Privatization Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2023, be now read a second time. Honorable Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to support this bill. Madam Speaker, this is an important bill that we should be able to support, and I didn't have much to add into what the contributor has made. I support it.
Member for Tharaka.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. That was quite hilarious, that support. But support is support whichever way it comes. Even the one-liner is good enough. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to support this bill, a very important bill in our country when it comes to privatization of entities that are supposed to be possibly government-owned. It's always a rider that the government does not have any farms, the government does not have any other property, and the only way the government raises its revenue is actually through taxation and borrowing. Because it is now proven that where government tries to invest into actual property, most of it go awry, as a result of which we have incompetent entities going around and unable to perform the functions for which they were performed. Even for the parastatals under the Parastatals Act, it is going to be that where they cannot perform, they should actually be privatized, and we have private people running private businesses for purposes of giving the government money. It is not the other way around, as stated by the leader of majority, that we have entities that are going to the government day after day, begging for money so that they can be salvaged. We should actually close shop for all those entities, bring them up as private entities, and we start getting money from those entities. We have in mind, as it has been said, the sugar companies. The sugar companies now need to be privatized. It is the high time we got these companies producing sugar, that they are selling sugar from which we get taxes and revenue, as a result of which they continue to be going entities. KQ is another one. Definitely. We need to rethink about Kenya Airways. It is our national carrier. It has a very nice slogan, which makes us extremely proud because it's the pride of Africa. It is everything good Kenyans can think of. But what do we get from it? Year in, year out. Debts after debts, debts after debts, because it is not able to run its own affairs. We now need a law like this so that we can privatize it and it continues to be the pride of Africa that it should be, and make Kenyans pride. I have gone through this act. It's a very important act in that it now sets into motion the way we are going to privatize the entities that are earmarked for privatization. We actually have an authority that is being formed, which is going to be the Privatization Authority of Kenya. Possibly we will add of Kenya, so that wherever we go, we know that what we are privatizing belongs to Kenya and it is being done by Kenyans. It's an authority that is supposed to spearhead privatization activities in the country. The way it has been formulated is from part 2 of the act. The cabinet secretary is given the powers to set up the authority, and once the authority comes in, it is supposed to be managed by a board of directors, which is chaired by a person appointed by the president and the other members equally appointed. This is important because we also have technocrats in it, including principal secretaries for National Treasury, principal secretary responsible for matters relating to investments, and we have the Honorable Attorney General coming in, so that it does give advice and guidance when it comes to matters such as this. We know very well that there may be elements out there who are looking at privatization as a golden opportunity to take over through whatever mode of taking over, whether capture, whether stealing, whether which, so that they are able to enrich themselves. With such a law, these need to be forewarned that there will be no room for trying to take away Kenyans' properties, which are supposed to be privatized. We have also banks which still are in the hands of the government, which banks, again, we need to relook at to see whether it's the high time that they are 100% privatized and the government opts out. I did talk about parastatals, including a company, a private limited liability company like the Kenya Power, which, again, Kenyans are complaining about because it is not rendering the services for which it is actually formed to render, in that I think the government still controls a large share of this particular company, and we should be moving away from this, such that we have Kenya Power fully privatized. We have then competitors coming in to compete with it to provide energy in the country, such a way that we Kenyans are able to enjoy energy services at affordable costs, because Kenya Power is going wayward. It is actually giving us bills which we are complaining about every time, and some of it, I'm convinced beyond doubt, have nothing to do with the high cost of petrol and petroleum products. I'm also convinced beyond doubt that it has nothing to do with levies imposed by the government. Possibly, it is a way of bridging up debts which it has incurred through levies, which many Kenyans do not understand. We have a program in part 3 on how privatization is going to be done. This is very important because once the process kicks off, it must be controlled by a law on what is going to happen step after step until the targeted entities are actually fully privatized. Then we have an implementation program in part 4. This is again important because Kenyans need to know after privatization is started, it is actualized, for how long this is going to take place and how are we going to benefit from all this, including the privatization agreements that will have to be entered into from time to time. At the end of it all, any party that is aggrieved will have to go to the review. We are calling it the Privatization Review Board. This is a board that is going to perform quasi-judicial functions, such that if a party is not happy, a party is dissatisfied with any decision, then you have an appeal mechanism in place, which mechanism is supposed to serve justice to all those parties that go to it. This is a very important bill, and I do support that we actually pass it so that we can move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, allow me to recognize guests in the public gallery. We have Olelusie Primary School, Narok North Constituency, Narok County. We have Sekenani Primary School, Narok West Constituency, Narok County. And we have sugar farmers from Tinderet Constituency, Nandi County. On my own behalf and of the House, I welcome you to observe the proceedings of the House, and I'll give the member for Nandi County to welcome them and make your remarks for this bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First, to welcome and appreciate the Nandi County sugar farmers who are in this House today to observe the proceedings. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that what a beautiful coincidence when the farmers are here, because Honorable Speaker, if I go to speak to the issue of the bill that we have on the floor of the House today, Honorable Speaker, I have a personal interest in the privatization bill because of the farmers, the sugar farmers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, every time the privatization bill is spoken about and issues privatization come up, I think about the sugar farmers, Honorable Speaker, who are actually people who take their produce to Chemelil Sugar and many other sugar companies, Honorable Speaker, in this country. Honorable Speaker, this bill is a timely bill, and it should have been done before, Honorable Speaker. It has now given us an opportunity to give privatization a legal footing so that we can be able to explore the privatization so that we have efficiency in service delivery to several factions and departments in this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you speak about privatization, we are not only speaking about the sugar companies, we are speaking about the sunset hotels of this country, Honorable Speaker. If you have noted, Honorable Speaker, this is one bill that has no factions because the whole of this country, Honorable Speaker, has government entities that are no longer giving profit and they're actually not able to run themselves, Honorable Speaker. So this is one bill that is actually cutting across in terms of ensuring that we have better run government entities so that we have income from the same, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I remember at times when you would go to Sunset Hotel, Honorable Speaker, there would be very nice fish there. And the next month you go there, Honorable Speaker, it is closed down because there is nothing that is able to run the facility, Honorable Speaker. And I think this is timely, Honorable Speaker. I want to speak, Honorable Speaker, to the bill. The bill, Honorable Speaker, if you have looked at it, it gives the the parliamentarians an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to be able to ratify it, Honorable Speaker. After the approvals have been done or the recommendations have been done, Honorable Speaker, they must and should come to this House, Honorable Speaker, as put out in the bill for ratification, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this gives an opportunity the representatives of the counties, the representatives of the constituencies, the representatives of the people, Honorable Speaker, to add their voice, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to speak passionately to Chemelil Sugar as an example of those entities that should be privatized immediately, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I was growing up in the hills of Nandi, Honorable Speaker, Chemelil Sugar was a lion then. It was an entity that used to sponsor serious talent games, Honorable Speaker, football and volleyball and whatnot, and they used to fund them, Honorable Speaker. There was a school called Chemelil Academy, Honorable Speaker. It was an icon that was spoken about by each and everyone in this country, Honorable Speaker. But as we speak, Honorable Speaker, even the CSR that we used to get from Chemelil Sugar, the health facilities that they used to build, the roads that they used to repair, employment opportunities, Honorable Speaker, issues to do with the businesses, the sugar farmers, Honorable Speaker, that used to deliver their cane to that place, Honorable Speaker. It reached to a point, Honorable Speaker, in 2016, where a farmer cried and said, I actually delivered my cane in 2014 to Chemelil Sugar, and to 2016, I have not been paid, and my children are at home, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, these are part and some of the entities that we must ensure that they are privatized, Honorable Speaker, and we thank the drafters of this bill, Honorable Speaker, for giving this country an opportunity to be able to put these entities into private hands so that we have efficiency. We stop them, Honorable Speaker, from demanding too much from exchequer releases, and we actually have profits, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, every other thing that happens does not go without negative impacts, Honorable Speaker. And if you have gone through the bill, Honorable Speaker, you see that this particular bill is elaborate. It actually gives us the opportunity, or it provides expressly in the bill, Honorable Speaker, how to be able to handle those negative impacts, Honorable Speaker, which include and is not limited to monopoly and high prices, Honorable Speaker, that can at times come from privatizing most of these entities. Honorable Speaker, like an honorable member said earlier, he said that government is a very bad business entity, and they normally say everything that someone touches turns gold. But Honorable Speaker, it's not the same for government. Everything that the government touches in terms of business actually becomes something else. It's not gold, Honorable Speaker. It becomes disastrous, and it actually gives losses to this country. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that I support this particular bill, and I appreciate the committee, and I appreciate this thoughtful government, Honorable Speaker, that has gone all the way to ensure that we have a legal framework so that as we do the privatization, Honorable Speaker, we are respecting the laws of this country and the Constitution of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. So I support this bill in entirety, and I hope that we are going to have its implementation quite fast so that we bring back this country to its economic footing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. The next chance will go to Dr. James Nyikal, member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this bill. And Madam Speaker, I want to actually do three things. One, appreciate the good intentions of this bill. Two, throw the caution of the urgency with which this bill is coming. And also, the combination of this bill coming now, the sugar bill, and the memorandum on the commercialization of the sugar industries. If you see those things separately, you've got it wrong. These things are connected. But having said that, Madam Speaker, let me just say that this bill has a good intention because government needs to divest from the private sector. That is known. But we need also to get the private sector to invest in what are important ventures that are important for the government. And we have had examples like was shown by the leader of majority when some companies were privatized, like Kenya Post and Telecommunications, that seem to have worked. We realize that it is actually a progression of the Act of 2005, which didn't work. You must then ask ourselves, why did that one not work? We still have the need to protect public funds that are invested in state ventures. And members of parliament should have actually a say in this. But this bill actually provides, but that limits the contribution of the members of parliament is that. That's something we should be cautious about. It also creates a privatization authority. Then we must ask ourselves, why did the commission fail? And now we are bringing in the authority. What is different? I actually see no difference except the intentions. And it is my belief, I want to believe that the government that brings it now has better intentions than who brought the bill last year. It this authority is to advise the government on implementation of privatization programs, is also to put limitations on the privatization programs, and it's also to provide for identification of the privatization programs and state criteria for who is going to be involved in this program. Madam Speaker, that is all very good, and I actually do appreciate that. It also provides for agreement processes and appeal processes, which I also accept is a good thing, and the handling of proceeds. But my worry, Madam Speaker, is that I hope this bill will not also just be used to actually get people who are close to government to actually acquire what are now public property for a song. And Madam Speaker, the leader of majority actually talked about government, and I wish he could hear me. I once gave him a definition of what government is, and I don't see the difference. As much as we will see the structures of government, the people who are elected, it eventually ends up that actually the government is the president and the people that the president listens to, whether those people are in official positions of government or not. And it is my fear that this may actually help.
Order, members. The member for Seme, Honorable Dr. James Nyikal, will have a balance of 6 minutes when the debate on this bill resumes in the afternoon. Order, members. Honorable members, and the time being 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Thursday, 14 September 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
Well, a very good morning to you, and welcome to this live broadcast of the National Assembly